Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. The World Cup is done. We can now fully look ahead to Tottenham Hotspur and all that brings with it, good and bad. Brentford, of course, Boxing Day. Nice friendly last night as well. And the usual fun and games around Antonio Conte, which let's get straight into that because I've seen all the recent stories, of course. It's a transfer window coming up. Anyone would think there's something that Antonio Conte might want out of this transfer window. We see it every single window so far. I mean, he's only had 3. This will be his 3rd. And each time, stories about his future always come out around the transfer windows. Always. And hey, I am not saying he's putting them out there. But what I am saying is I'm sure he has absolutely no qualms about them being out there because it's just a thing that happens. It is. I think it's happened at previous clubs as well. Look, you know, what I said in the last video is absolutely still the case. Spurs hopeful that they can get him to sign a new contract and that he seems happy around the club as well. I also said that Conte, the last time we spoke to him last month, seemed to be kind of suggesting that it would be something that he was in no rush to do and it would look further down the line. And I think I remember the quotes was something like, you know, I have to deserve it, stuff like that. And as I said, it's all tied together with the club showing ambition. All of the talks in the last couple of weeks have been tied in with what's going to happen in the windows, what's going to happen in the next window, and most importantly of all, it's the acceleration of the time frame. So what I mean by that is Spurs can say, oh, we want this, we want to do this, we want to win that, whatever. That's great, but for Conte, he wants that in a shorter time frame, and he always has. This is, you know, something he's publicly said, that he wants, you know, it's all about the speed of the process for him. He wants to win stuff. He's a guy that his CV is used to winning things. And, you know, he doesn't want to go a particular amount of time without having won anything. So, yes, this is all the usual stuff that we've seen before. It's obviously puts a bit of pressure on the club to make sure that they're not going to have a disappointing window. The ambition and what he's going to do. He doesn't want to just become an also-ran manager. You know, one of those kind of managers that have just challenged and have got some stuff that they can say, oh, well, I did this, I improved that. He's a guy that judges his career on silverware. So, yeah, I don't think until he's got a full sense of what's to come and what's going to happen, he'll put pen to paper on that new deal. But, you know, there is also a slight glossing over of the fact at times that Spurs do have this option for another year. Of course, he could just walk out. He could walk away. He could resign. That's what happens in these things. We've seen managers do that. Obviously, it costs them a lot of money. But if he's a man that truly doesn't believe or worry too much about money, maybe that isn't a thing. But, yeah, the other interesting dynamic, of course, is Mauricio Pochettino being in the background, unemployed and very much... We know that he would, well, he said it himself, he would love to come back to Spurs one day. It's unfinished business for him. And I'm sure there's some at the club that would like him back. I'm sure there's some of the fan base that would like him back. It's an interesting one because the whole Conte thing is I do think that if there was a sense that Daniel Levy, the club, weren't backing Conte, there would be an uproar. And I understand that. But I guess it's how far he pushes it. Because while I think there's a lot of affection for Conte, a lot of belief that he's a man that can win trophies for Spurs, of course, the criticisms about the style of football and some of the games that haven't been particularly enjoyable this season, he doesn't want to go too far where he kind of loses some support. Because I do think that there will be people that then will nostalgically look back to Pochettino. Poch for me is an interesting one. Obviously, I kind of know him very well from covering for years at Spurs. And I do believe, personally, this is after Conte. This is not saying for him to replace Conte, anything like that. But if Conte were to ever decide he'd had enough or Spurs had enough, there is a part of me that definitely feels that if anyone deserves a chance with Spurs and having a bit of financial backing behind him, it probably is Mauricio Pochettino, because of everything. He massively overachieved and punched above his weight with Spurs when they had very little money to spend. He was the man for a club that was building £1 billion stadium that really couldn't put much towards it. And we can't forget, he did finish top 3 for 3 years in a row, second one of those years as well, took him to a Champions League final. I do think sometimes disillusionment towards the end of Poch's reign definitely has rewritten some of what he's achieved. He did fantastic things. Personally, I'm a big fan of Antonio Conte's, and I do think that if he's given the backing and he just kind of focuses on the football, I think he will win things with Spurs. So I'd like to see that happen first, to be honest. But the Pochettino dynamic is an interesting thing, because it's how far, I guess, Conte pushes the club and the fans, I guess, in terms of the way he will be, because he's an emotional chap. Having Poch in the background as a kind of maybe a go-to